Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Good morning, Ethan.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, just as rushed as you are, I think. With the how was the event on the weekend?
Oh, that's a long story. From what I remember of it, it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be putting out all the stuff on the Facebook. We actually did an event for the World Cup, which was a great. It wasn't a shocker that Germany won, but it was actually an interesting game, and we did it over at Volcano down in Burbank, right? And,
yes.
Raised a few dollars for young Brandon, who we're actually supporting from Children's Organ Transplant Association. We have the golf match that is going to be happening. Sorry, golf tournament, not matching golf, is it really? It's a golf tournament in August, so you can check that out on our site, www.thepeacefund.org, if you want to find out more about Brandon and the event. You're on the East Coast, go to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's supporting a very worthy cause. Now, you can hear in the background that I have female voices in the studio today. We have ladies in here. It's not just going to be a male testosterone-run show, right, Ethan? We're going to let the pheromones come in?
Yes, we got some fantastic company in here.
Yeah, we have, obviously, my fabulous compatriot. I will call her a compatriot because we actually have worked together on a couple of different things, which is Kimberly Moore from the Kimberly Moore Foundation. Morning, Kimberly.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yes, Kimberly is dedicated to bringing hope to kids all over the world, helping those without a voice and empowering individuals and communities change their lives. Her foundation, the Kimberly Moore Foundation, was established to contain 3 uniquely creative and sustainable programs. Adopt a Letter, which I've had the privilege to actually help and support, as well as the Peace Fund and all of you out there. Keeping Harmony Alive and Guinea-Bissau Advocacy. Keeping Harmony Alive is dedicated to saving music programs in schools, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Right, and it focuses on what?
Well, basically what we do is we provide instruments to inner city schools that are losing their music programs due to insufficient government funding.
Okay, so obviously music is a very big part of one of the thirds of the Kimberly Moore empire.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
charitable empire, should I say?
Because when we had our Adopt a Letter program, one of the girls whose letter we adopted wrote back to us and said, "Is it possible that Santa Claus can adopt our request for instruments for a school?"
Right.
And so therefore I went there and I found out that 4 schools in the city of Bell Gardens were being shut down due to insufficient government funding. So we actually ended up working together and we created this campaign called Keeping Harmony Alive. It was me and this 16-year-old girl from Bell Gardens High School. So
and it started with a little idea, right?
Yeah,
with a little letter.
It was amazing, yeah.
Now, we have somebody else in the studio. This studio this morning is filled with beautiful women. I don't get it. What is it? This is fabulous this morning. Anjali Ranadive. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, close enough.
Go on, say it for me, because I'm terrible.
No worries, it's Anjali.
Anjali, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. You're a pop, R&B, and international music recording artist, correct?
Yes,
out of the Bay Area. Beautiful. What part of the Bay Area?
Palo Alto area. I don't know if you know the area
well. I've been up to San Francisco and up there a few times, but
great.
Your passion for music comes from your mother's musical talent, which influenced you to begin singing as a child.
Yes.
So what was it? What did your mom have?
She plays like 5 instruments. She has an incredible voice. So my house was always filled with music. And my brother, he also he actually had his own little home recording studio, and he would record a lot of local rappers and singers in the Bay Area. So that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
So you're really influenced by rap and R&B? Is that what you're saying?
I'm influenced by everything, but that was kind of probably my main influence growing up, definitely, and Disney.
Now the interesting thing is you actually have a Bachelor of Science degree in marine ecology from the University of California. Where do you go marine ecology to music? I'm kind of like...
Right. Well, I spent a lot of summers. I've always been a really big animal lover. Grew up on basically a mini farm with all sorts of animals, and every summer I used to work at the Monterey Bay Aquarium or other local aquariums and animal rescues, and so I wanted to major in something where I could actually really make a difference, and I've always loved the ocean specifically. So that's how I ended up studying marine science at Cal.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I got, it's and you're working with astronauts, Super Dave and Drew the Beast.
Yes.
Drew the Beast. I haven't heard of him. Drew the Beast.
Dave.
I like that. Drew, a production duo on your first debut solo album.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's actually, it's interesting because the proceeds for the album are actually going to go back into the ocean, which is what my nonprofit is for. It's for endangered species and marine life, and encouraging kids through education to really be a part of protecting the environment. And so I'm kind of excited about that because my album...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be called Save the Wild. And my overall goal and my overall dream has really been to use music, which is really what you're doing, as a platform to make a difference, and especially with children. So I'm really excited about that.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because music empowers. The minute our radios go off in the morning to the theme tune to evening news, we're surrounded by it all day long, and it's one of the most amazing ways to experience the world around us. Children are they're able to appreciate music from birth, which is what you did, and I think that's why we sing to babies, to soothe them and send them to sleep, and then we have now big shows like America's Got Talent and all that stuff to actually show us that music is a very big part of our lives. Right. And I think it really does give us something for kids and for the world to actually. So I'm really pleased that you're bringing all the profitable and non-profitable entity into your life. Plato once said that music is a more potent instrument than any other for education. Plato said it. I mean, how long was Plato? Like 3,000 years, 2,000 years? And you may find teachers of young children who would agree with him. Recent research has found that music uses both sides of the brain, a fact that makes it valuable in all areas of development, which is very much like what I do with my kids. I teach them another language, which allows the left and right cortex of the brain to be stimulated,
together,
exactly, and therefore stimulate their education, their knowledge, their learning power, and all that type of stuff. Now, music, it's missing today in public schools. This is what you do, Kimberly, and we've discussed this when you're not on the show. You have to understand, I do quote you a lot on this show.
Oh, you do?
Oh, I do. Yeah, if you go back to some of the episodes, you'll hear I say, my friend Kimberly Moore did this and did it. But, one of the things is music in schools, and I think it's a trend today for cutting funds in programs. We were actually talking last week or the week before about arts in schools, how in Philadelphia it's something ridiculous, like 4 cents a year per child is spent on arts. It's ridiculous, and music is one of the arts.
Right, no, absolutely. And it's also a great outlet for the kids. I mean, a lot of people don't really realize that music allows you to tap into like multiple skill sets. So it helps you critical thinking, helps you with math, science, sensory integration. It helps you with problem solving, and it also gives the children a sense of belonging, which is something that's really important. So it helps them to feel confident. And they did a study where they actually divided the school, like all the kids that were in music programs and ones that weren't. The kids that were in the music programs had higher SAT level scores. They had a higher graduation rate as well. So it definitely helps you, utilize that. These are the tools that you need in order to become successful later in life. So.
Is this what got you the ecology degree? That you were singing on, and you realized that,
Yeah, exactly.
You're so right, though. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's really heartbreaking just thinking that kids won't be able to actually pursue music in school and study it, because I think it's just as important as science and math and English and history and everything else, because it goes beyond just studying and facts. It really forces you to think proactively and creatively, and things that you don't really get from those other subjects as much. And I know for me personally, I carry that with me every single day. Yeah. So I just, I love what you're doing.
No, and especially in the lower income communities, because these kids don't have any other outlets. It's not like their parents are, paying for piano lessons or for dance classes or anything like that. So for them, this is a really big way for them to express themselves. I always say that you're not going to see a kid who plays a violin robbing a liquor store or getting involved in gang violence or anything like that. But it's true.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, I know we actually... we're, as you probably know, we have affiliations with different musical charities, such as my friend. Oh gosh, I'm totally blanking now. on air, I'm live on air and I'm blanking.
Many charities.
Thank you. Little Kids Rock was what I was actually going to talk about.
Great.
Yeah, Little Kids Rock, who actually take musical instruments into schools
Right.
and take kids off the street and said to them, "You will give you the instrument as long as you stay in school." And what they found is that it's really helped their studies and education. It's musical participation is associated with high achievement in math and reading and. It's totally, learning. When I was a kid, I remember I was probably about 8-9 years old, something like this, and I saw there was a violin class, and I snuck into the violin class and I started playing, and the teacher said, "Sorry," I literally just started doing something on it, and the guy comes into me and says, "Are you supposed to be in here? You're not. So can you leave the class?" But they never said, "Well, wait a minute, this kid really wanted to be in this class. Why don't we encourage it?" And I think that's a parent's job as well to encourage. Did your parents encourage you through your music?
My mother really, really did. My dad's Indian, so he's more mathematical and everything. But even he has said, he is mostly a left side of the brain. But he said, "I wish that I could, be more strong on my right side of the brain and really be a part of, just art in general, because it helps grow you so much." So they both definitely encouraged me, and it's just amazing the effects that it has on kids. When I went down with you to Bell Gardens High and just talking to them and seeing them play, just
incredible.
It does change you when you actually see it,
totally.
really, in the flesh, if you like. I've done a few small programs. I try to make sure that we keep and fund and work with charities, but I do go to, like, I went down with you to deliver those presents to the kids in Bell Gardens, but it touches you, and I think you really have to see that before you actually really understand what a lot of things are actually being done. Now,
it's really beautiful because Anjali, she came with me last month, right before the school ended, and we had about 100 kids, that were still using the instruments that we bought them 6 years ago. And through our Keeping Harmony Alive campaign. So it was really nice to be able to be there and to see that the music program was still actually going on, because if we never saved that program, none of those kids would have had that experience.
Do you find that these instruments kind of get worn out and you need new instruments all the time and that type of thing?
Yeah, they do. And I think the school, has a fund that they're able to try to fix those instruments. It's a lot cheaper to fix them than to buy new instruments. So, but we provided them instruments for the next 15, 20 years. So we have probably about 10, 15 years left for that particular school. Right. But you're always looking for musical donations. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So where can people donate their musical instruments if they don't have them anymore? Because we're in California, so you might want to...
Yeah, what we do is that normally when we have a school that we're working with, we'll put together a charity drive, a musical instrument charity drive. So we'll have like different drop-off locations in different areas in part of town where people can drop off their old instruments. There are students that finish music and they don't play, and they have instruments in their garage that they're not using. So we can actually use those instruments and bring them to the schools in some of the lower income areas. So
right, where can people find online where you're at if they go?
You just go down to the KimberlyMooreFoundation.org, or you can go down on Facebook, and normally we'll post something up on there.
So that's the Kimberly Moore Foundation, everybody. Check it out.
Fan page, yeah.
Check it out.
Yay.
So I know you actually also I have my information in front of me here. I have to have my backup stuff. You had your first single, and you joined Nick Cannon's Incredible Entertainment record label. How long ago was that?
That was actually, so I graduated from Cal Berkeley in December, so it was pretty much right after that in January. I came down here, and I actually basically really got involved in the whole situation because of my producer and manager, Super Dave. So
right, yeah. Is that Super Dave outside?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Super Dave, if you're listening, a big shout out, brother.
Big shout out.
We love him.
And you recently released your first single, "We Turn Up," featuring French Montana. How's it doing? And when did it release?
It's doing great. It released in April. I'm really excited about it. It has an Indian theme because I'm half Indian, so I wanted to incorporate
You are? Your dad's Indian, mom's it.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say you got background, yeah.
Right, so which is kind of exciting. It has a Bollywood feel. And that's kind of been missing, I guess, in the pop industry in general. So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Right.
Have you heard it? It's pretty cool.
And you guys teamed up. When was it? Like a month ago? 2 months ago?
Yeah. No, it was just literally about 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I want to read something from a Pynk Celebrity interview, and I'm going to bring Yvonne in a minute, who's in the background there from Pynk Celebrity. It was close to 5 years ago when a high school in Los Angeles was getting ready to shut down their music program due to lack of funds and instruments. Music was the one thing that fueled many of these high school kids to stay on the right track and out of trouble. One of the music students, Griselle Luna, a previous guest on Peace Fund Radio, by the way, had witnessed how Kimberly Moore helped some impoverished families in Bell Gardens and reached out to Moore in the hopes that the school's music program could be salvaged. Her instincts were right, and her foundation saved the music program at Bell Gardens, which we've just heard, by supplying them with enough instruments to secure it for the next 15 to 20 years through the Keeping Harmony Alive program. To celebrate this victory, Anjali joined Kimberly to give a speech to the graduating students in 2014. I just want to hear what you actually said to them, because you encouraged the students to keep pursuing their dreams and their passions. And you actually hold on a second, you said, all of us have a burning passion inside our hearts that fuels us every day. Our passions help us wake up in the morning and continue on. Our passions unite us and also make us unique. That passion helps us build our dreams and make them a reality. That's what you said.
Yes.
So true. So true. So we do our research on this show.
Wow.
We do our research on this show. That's thanks to Beverly Shahara. Thanks, Beverly, for that. I needed some help on the show this morning. But, I mean, it really is important that we go back in front of the kids once we've done something with our lives, and we go back and say, listen, you guys can do it too, because I did it, and I did the same thing. That's why I started the Peace Foundation in '97, because I had a certain amount of popularity around the world, and I wanted to inspire other kids and bring other kids up. To some hope, I've been able to do that in the past several years that I've been doing it. I think it's really important to have that. Yvonne, you're in the background there. I want to bring you in because I want to hear a little bit about Pynk Celebrity and why you went with Anjali and what your focus is, because I know you have a fantastic site and you got some amazing things happening, and I see you nodding in the background there with a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. So what's your thoughts on this? Why did you join this up? Why Kimberly and all this?
I met Kimberly last year, and I was really impressed with everything that she does, not only in the community but worldwide. And with Pynk Celebrity, we're able to talk about entertainment, fun celebrity gossip, all of that. But we also like to focus and give media attention to people who are doing really good.
Right.
Giving a lot back to the world, to the community. So I tend to follow the Kimberly Moore Foundation and what she's doing. We love to report on her. And then with Anjali, she's super talented, and her passion is music, but she also has other passions as well. And she's someone that can really guide and be a great role model for the younger generation. So I thought it would be great to have Anjali go with the Kimberly Moore Foundation and report on that.
How's your experience been so far?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I mean, I met Kimberly through Yvonne, and when she first told me about keeping harmony alive and the cause, I immediately wanted to be a part of it because of what music has done for me. And, like you said, I have more, music isn't my only passion. And I think that's the thing with music and learning it as a child. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go into music, but it really it allows you to do so much more,
Absolutely.
So.
Right. And I know we did mention Little Kids Rock a little earlier, which again is another organization that does great stuff. Have you ever had
with David and Cindy Cowan and
David
Cindy, and all of them? Yeah, on the show.
Sorry, I'm bringing Kimberly close to me to the mic because she's such a pretty girl. I need to do that. Now she's blushing. But it's another good non-profit organisation that transformed kids' lives by restoring, revitalizing music education in disadvantaged schools. I want to go back to a little bit about. I'm going to bring John Beerley on in a second, because music really is missing today in public schools. It's missing, and we know that. And how do you think we can bring it back? What do you guys think? How do we actually empower the powers that be, if you like, to actually bring more arts or music programs back into school? What's the solution?
I think, first of all, I think everyone needs to do their part, because even, a lot of the times, even in schools where there are music programs, people don't like to emphasize music. They don't think of it as a subject that, needs to have focus, but it really does. And so I really think that everyone needs to influence children in wanting to participate in music and in fighting for it. And there needs to be more people like Kimberly, which, and more programs like Keeping Harmony Alive, just in general.
I agree. People like Kimberly that get involved with the community, that care, that, make the effort to raise money, raise funds to help these kids and help them keep their dreams alive. And then also parents, too, if they can get more involved as well, it would be great.
Right. Because I'm looking here, the reports show that access to school music programs has dropped 50%. 50% in recent years.
Yeah.
It's a problem for all students, but especially for those in low-income families,
Right.
because they really don't have a chance to do that. Like Kimberly
Right.
says, she takes those programs back into those schools that really need that musical program to really help the kids in other areas. Low-income students benefit significantly from music education, but often their families can't afford it. The music programs are the only way these kids enjoy the fun and benefits of a music education, and those opportunities are becoming harder and harder to find. According to the U.S. Department of Education, I hate these numbers. I hate it when they bring me these numbers. Almost 6 million elementary students, 6 million, overwhelmingly in our highest poverty schools, have no art or music classes. None. Zero. Far too often, the schools that need the arts, the most are getting them. Those that need it the most are getting it least, while wealthier school districts can compensate for budget cuts that reduce or eliminate these music programs with private funding. Low-income school districts cannot. So the kids who might benefit most from music education are often the least likely to get it. Do you guys get it out there? Because I kind of get the idea right now. I want to bring in. We'll talk a little bit more about music, about how it's emotional. It's for life. It's about the physical. I want to bring John Bealey in for a second. You've spoken to John several times, Kimberly. Do we have him yet? Is he?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, John. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. The LA Talk Radio studio is currently the music and beauty capital of the universe, and I'm sitting by myself in a basement in Indiana. So I'm doing really well, really great.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you it's just tough being me here at the moment. It's just.
Well, welcome, ladies, to the studio. Kimberly, it's always nice to talk to you, and Anjali, it's great to have you guys on the show this morning.
Thanks so much.
So John, I know you have a little. What we before I mention what you're going to do, John, is so we have every week we highlight Kid Heroes of the Week, kids that have done extraordinary things that to benefit their communities or other organizations or creative organizations where they've done fundraising efforts or something that really stands out for the community. So I know John brings us those every week, and we're always astounded by the ones that we have. And this week we have Alaina Podmorow, I believe, who's 17.
Yes. Alaina will be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. Before we get to her, today's topic made me remember one of our previous heroes of the week, who I wanted to mention very, very quickly, Ethan Cruikshank of Hanover County, Virginia. When Ethan was 7 years old, he became interested in music. By the time he was 9, he had mastered the guitar. And he decided, okay, how do I learn more about music? I'm going to learn another instrument. I'm going to learn the viola. So he joins the strings program at his school. He begins taking lessons, and just when things really start getting good, he's really starting to learn the instrument, the school system cancels the music program right out from under him. So he's thinking, oh my gosh. He knows that music makes him feel accomplished. He knows it makes him feel confident. He knows it makes him feel alive. And Ethan decides at age 9 that if the school can't give these children the musical opportunities that he himself had been lucky enough to enjoy, then he would do it himself. So because of all of the musicians he had met, both fellow kids and adults, during the time that he was learning the guitar, he was able to put together this group of volunteers and start up their own little music system called Music to My Ears. They have a website at musictomyearshanover.org. And to date, actually as of February, they had helped 73 kids learn how to play piano, guitar, violin, viola, saxophone, and flute. And this is just from volunteers that a 9-year-old put together.
9.
Incredible.
9 years old. 9 years old. He's 14 years old now. I've actually been in touch with him. He will be joining us on the show on a future episode. He's very busy at the moment with school and other things, but as soon as he can, he's going to join us on the episode and join us on an episode and give us some updates about what we can do to get music education back going in schools again. He's got some really great ideas. He will be joining us soon.
You know, we also have had Dalton Sear on the show, who uses his music to help the organization's the Dream Factory, which brings kids in dire situations in hospitals some help and some enlightenment. You know, we talked about how music it's basically described as a sport. Learning to sing and keeping rhythm develops coordination. And I see you guys are nodding in the background there. Tell me a little bit about that.
We were just talking about that this morning.
Were you really?
Yes.
No, literally, it is very similar to a sport, but, you know, the thing that makes it special is that it's literally like a sport combined with, you know, academia and math and everything, which I think, again, is why it's so crucial.
Well, they also talk about the air and wind power necessary to blow a flute or trumpet or saxophone actually promotes a healthy body,
right, because
you're bringing oxygen into the lungs and creating that. So it's a whole nother aspect of what music does.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're going to be actually bringing on, while we do this, bring on our hero of the week at the moment, I believe, John. Would you like to just mention who that is right now? Oh, we're calling them.
So I'm going to give a quick introduction. This is amazing. Back in September of 2006, actually, she's here. Alaina, are you here with us?
Hi, yes, I am.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? You're on Peace Fund Radio with a whole bunch of lovely people.
Wonderful.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
So good morning, Alaina. Is it Alaina or Alana?
Alaina.
I want to get it right because I got one the name wrong this morning. So I want to make sure I get them all right. John, I want you to actually tell us about Alaina and what she did when she was 9 years old. Because I have it in front of me, but I'd let you go with it.
Yes, back in September of 2006, when Alaina was just 9 years old, she attended a speech by a Canadian journalist, author, and human rights activist named Sally Strong about the human rights violations befalling girls her age every day in Afghanistan. So Alaina organized a silent auction that raised enough money to pay the salaries of 4 teachers in Afghanistan for a year. Mission accomplished and game over, right? Of course not. If you know anything about our Peace Fund Radio Heroes of the Week, you know the answer to that question. You know that once they start the ball rolling, once they start helping people, they just keep going forward. So Alaina reached out to a group called Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan and asked if she could join. She took it one step further by creating her own organization that's called Little Women for Little Women in Afghanistan, which you can find at littlewomenforlittlewomen.com. To date, Alaina and her friends have raised nearly $500,000 to support Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan's initiatives that support education projects for girls in Afghanistan.
That is awesome. You had your initial inspiration came from a speech by Sally Armstrong. How did you hear her speech?
Well, I was invited to that speech that night by my mom, and she had said that it was going to be about Afghanistan, and being 9 years old, I had only known so much about it by watching things on the news and listening to the radio. So I was quite intrigued, and I attended that speech that night with my mom, and it was a very pivotal moment in my life.
Do you think we've been talking this morning about how our parents are very inspirational and pushing us forward? Anjali here, who is a fantastic singer, and she has she's got a new album coming out, so you've got to listen to it. But she actually mentioned how her mom, sang all the time, and she was an inspiration to her. Do you really think your mom has helped you with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only my mom, but my whole family has been so supportive through everything. And, I mean, even before Little Women, at a very young age, my parents were always pushing me to be very aware of what's going on in the world. And I so appreciate that because it really did give me a really wonderful outlook on how, the world does operate and the realities that are happening every single day. And that even gave me that power, that passion inside to understand that, there are these things going on in our world, and I can do something to make a difference. And I totally think that is because of what my mom and my dad and my brother have given me.
I think you said something right now that passion, is something that really drives all our Kid Heroes of the Week and all the guests that we can't bring in. Anjali, you, the same thing, I think. Passion is what drives you, not just for your music, but actually for you to give back to musical programs like Kimberly Moore's foundation. So, I think passion is really what drives people. Do you think your passion in what you're doing now has gotten more or less, or has it remained the same? How did you? What made you want to take action? Was it that passion?
Absolutely. That night at that event, listening to Sally Armstrong speak, I was so moved. I could not believe what was happening in Afghanistan to girls who were my age. These girls were not getting the same rights, the same freedoms that I was experiencing every day. They didn't have the right to go outside without a male relative. They couldn't get medical attention. And the thing that shocked me the most was that these girls were not able to get an education, which is something that I have felt my entire life that has been such a privilege, and I have loved every second of it. And so that passion inside already, and then the understanding that girls who were just like myself and my friends were being denied of this, it sparked something that night, and that has not died since.
It's incredible.
What kind of work was Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan doing that made you want to reach out to them?
They were doing things that were so simple yet so effective in Afghanistan, these education projects, things that I knew that if I stood behind, I would be just beyond, empowered to make a difference. And so I knew that was an organization that I really did want to join up with. What they were doing was incredible, and I knew that, Canadian Women for Women in Afghanistan would share the same values on making a difference that I would.
Once you founded Little Women for Women in Afghanistan, how did you I can't even talk this morning, recruit other young women to help you?
Well, after I held my very first fundraiser when I was about 9 years old, something happened inside me that knew that it wasn't just going to be one thing that I was going to do to make a difference. I knew I wanted to have, girls my age, girls older, even boys, to stand behind me, stand together to make a difference. And so 10 years old, I went into my classroom and I talked to all my friends and I said, this is what is going on in Afghanistan. This is what I learned. This is how I feel, and I would love for you to help make a difference with me. And so 20 10-year-old girls got together, and we started brainstorming just in our classroom at lunchtime, dreaming up of fundraisers and projects to raise awareness. And, 8 years later, we're doing the same thing. We have students all across the country and the world that have heard of us and are interested in our work. And, from that recruitment, we have been able to create so many fundraisers and spread the word that education equals peace. And so we still, have our original group of members, and they speak to classes and organizations and interested audiences. And this has really been able to start this movement not only across Canada, but across the United States and across the world. And now, more than ever, we are having our mission of raising money and awareness supported. And, really, since then, it hasn't changed. We are still, passionate about what we do, and we're still powerful in our movement towards peace, and that just continues to grow.
Money help those young women.
Well, we have projects that we specifically support in Afghanistan. So some of those are teacher training, which is so important. It is so effective, and we've been able to train over 2,000 teachers, which have been able to go into communities all over Afghanistan and really create an impact. And we are paying for teachers' salaries. We are getting funding over to Afghanistan so that we can purchase school supplies and really get the classroom environment working, so we can bring in science kits. And then one of my very, very favorite projects that we are supporting is something called an Able Box Library, and basically that is a portable library that brings for around $1,000 literacy to areas that have never had the opportunity for literacy before. So sort of that's what we focus on, and really just making education possible in Afghanistan.
I want to actually reach out to you here. I've got a couple of other questions for you, but we are setting up. We are about to launch it very soon, the next month or two. It's going to be called Peace Fund Hub. It's in association with Microsoft and Yammer, where we're going to be inviting different charities that we have associations with to come in and discuss their ideas in how to actually help with the solutions and the logistics of certain things like you just mentioned, which was bringing a mobile library to rural areas. We've had other organizations, I think John will actually be able to enlighten a little bit more on this, who actually had a similar issue when they were trying to bring an internet-based product to a rural area in Africa, and found that they couldn't get any power because there's no power there. So they found a solar-powered company to bring in that solution. So my point,
we actually had there were actually two. There was Tatiana Grossman from SpreadTheWords.us and Adele Taylor from awesome, and then Adele Taylor from Adele's Literacy Library. Both of
as well as I know her.
That's so awesome. That's so. I love that you guys know each other. These are both young women who had these big ideas about what they could do with education in these rural areas of Africa. Both of these young women were told by adults it's not going to work. There's no electricity in these areas. So they both said, well, do they have sun there? Because we can, build these solar-powered projectors, solar-powered tablets, solar-powered learning facilities. Adele actually built a solar-powered learning facility in a village in Africa, just powered by the power of the sun. No electricity, no problem. It's fantastic.
Incredible.
So basically, we want to invite. We'll be inviting you and all the other people that we actually have done due diligence on, because what we want to make sure is that place on Yammer is a safe place for charities to share their ideas, not their funds, because everybody has their own funding issues, but their ideas of how to either come together and cooperate with each other, or give each other ideas how to help them in their own organization. Now, I know you have a lot of obstacles for education in girls in Afghanistan. What do you think are the biggest ones?
Well, I believe that is a very layered question, especially for Afghanistan, because there are many factors that weigh in, like no availability to attend school in their area. There's cultural beliefs and the fear of the repercussions from radical groups like the Taliban. However, I think that the number one reason that impedes Afghan girls to the right to an education is the lack of resources. I mean, that means no books, no supplies, no trained teachers, and just no schools. And that really impacts women and girls in Afghanistan in their chances to get an education and become something incredible in their life that they dream of.
So we've been talking this morning about music. Now, being a total ignoramus about Afghanistan, do they have any music or musical programs or anything like that the kids, apart from women, kids in general, are able to utilize?
Well, Afghanistan has a wonderful, beautiful culture, and music is a very big part of that. And I know specifically in our projects we don't focus on music so much, but I do know that from being invited into homes and invited to schools to have tea, there always is that component of music, and I do believe that singing and also dancing for Afghan women and girls is something that could be an incredible thing for them to have the chance to do.
If you could give
express themselves.
if you could give one piece of advice to other people young people who might be thinking of starting their own charities, what would it be?
Well, really, for me, I think that it's going to be the same advice I have given since I was 9 years old. And, just when I was starting up Little Women, I knew that it didn't matter how little or young you may be. You can make a difference. You just need to believe in yourself, your passion, and your ability to make change.
Well, Alaina, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are this week's Peace Fund Hero of the Week, and we hope to keep in contact with you and help further what you're doing in Afghanistan, and I'm sure you'll go to other places around the world. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alaina. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So interesting that it's part of the culture, but it's not brought into the actual musical program. It's kind of interesting to me that they don't have that. I mean,
Right.
She talked about dancing, and that's in some Muslim that is a sexual connotation of dancing and it's free speech, and so it might be the reason. But it's I don't know. It's so strange to me. It's interesting to find how different cultures deal with different issues. Now, you come from a Pakistani background. How is it in Pakistan? How is that? I mean, okay, that's a whole other issue, isn't it?
Indian, but yeah.
Sorry, Indian. God. There we go. I told you this morning was not my best morning. But
No, it's fine.
your father's going to kill me.
No, I mean, my family's Hindu, but it's similar. It's very, it's like a very fine line, because a lot of people see dancing and see music as, that's inappropriate. So but I think maybe that's something we can work, with Alaina on. She's totally inspiring, and I can't even believe her. It's amazing.
It gives me goosebumps every time I hear a lot of these. That's why I want to. But there are so many charities around. Kimberly and I have talked about this before. There are so many charities around that are doing such great things, but together you can really do much more. And that's why, and I don't care how I do it.
Right.
That's why I want to create this area where they can talk to each other.
Right.
If they're going to do that, we have the people at Microsoft that are ready to launch this program with us. We're just about getting a charity liaison to start bringing these charities in, because another reason is because a lot of you out there know we have Peace Fund Games happening. Peace Fund Games is starting in November 8th and 9th in Corona. It is the first celebrity paintball competition, which is now set to break world records, hopefully.
Wow.
Where we want to bring in celebrities where they can fight for their own charity. Celebrities can come in and they will be able to go through the 2 days events. One's a 5-man event with 12 teams made up of 5 players, 3 of which are collegiate players, 2 are celebrities. They will then win for the top prizes in that particular for that particular day. The next day will be the mass game, where 2 generals, myself and Carrie Keegan, will be assisted by paintball legends that are very well versed in the tactics for this, because we're novices. And that will also include the grand prize for the day, as well as charities going on celebrities going on missions that they can win money for their own charity as well during that day. So it is going to be a huge event. We're looking at sponsors right now. We just brought in a publicist in. We've got solutions companies, ticketing. We've got all that stuff. It will be on www.thepeacefundgames.org. A new website will be out there. It's a holding page right now, but there is still a registration process on there. So we're doing that. But the other reason we're doing that is because all those charities, we're going to be launching the Yama Peace Fund Hub at those games, and just prior to that, so that you can learn a lot more, and these charities can actually go out and help each other. So that's something else that we're trying to do here at the Peace Fund. But and music's going to be one of them. Music is going to be one of those charities that you can actually go out and support. So and all those charities and all those different organizations that are going to be taking part in this will be up on that website. That was me. Now I can take a breath out of that one. That feels a lot better. So music. We talked about music a little bit more. We've got a few minutes left because we talked about it being physical. Now it's also emotional, because being an art form, we're emotional beings, and kids require an artistic outlet. it's part of the kids' expression. For those who don't excel academically, music can serve to build their self-esteem, and for some children, they have a chance to shine in the middle of a day that's filled with academic subjects that fry the brain. Now, you coming from I think you came from a fairly academic background as well as did you have other kids that weren't as academically proficient, that you found that maybe music was one way to actually help them get into that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think another thing is it's also therapeutic, and you would have kids who maybe have don't have the best home situations or the best family situations, or like you said, they have low self-esteem when it comes to other academics. And when they get engaged in music and playing an instrument, and they see themselves progressing, and it's something that they're really, really good at and passionate about, it really is very therapeutic, and it does, like you said, it increases their their abilities to do every subject and their passion to really do that. So.
It's actually interesting because it goes through our entire lives as well, because you can't play soccer or football or anything when you're 70 or 80 years old, but you can sing.
Right. Yeah.
You can still sing. Barbara Streisand proves that.
Right. I want to say that, one thing that's really important is that, music makes you, helps these kids to feel really good about themselves, and it gives them that confidence. It makes them feel significant. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's one of the things that's really missing, because I think that if you give kids a constructive way to feel significant, so when you have a kid that's actually performing on stage, he's out there and everybody's cheering for him, and he's with his band, and he feels really good about himself. He gets to go home with his violin and play for his parents, and his parents are really proud of him, and he feels really good about himself. But I think that, if you don't give them a constructive way to feel significant, they're going to go out there and look for a destructive way.
Right. They become involved in a lot of different things too.
Absolutely.
I mean, drugs get involved, gangs get involved, all that stuff, because they're not being engaged at school in an appropriate manner.
Right.
So, especially
if they're not getting it at home.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. There's another thing, and music helps a lot of different things, and autism is another thing that it really helps. It engages autistic children in dancing and singing, which help them communicate and develop social skills, which is very important. We've talked about autism before. It's interesting because autism is one of those things that has been grouped into physical disability. It's that, but we didn't really know until just recently that autism was actually a disease. I want to call it a disease. It's a manifestation, in a sense, of a different manner. It actually has its own category now, because they're saying, it's on the rise. Well, yeah, maybe, but it actually might have been there before, because it was grouped with all the other diseases or malfunctions of the brain that you actually encounter. So, but they could take up an instrument to play, and it will help them gain interest in acquiring a certain skill. So I think it's very important to have that musical instrument in their lives. I want to give some facts right now. Schools with musical programs, and I hate facts, guys. You know that. I hate facts, but they're there, and that's what the facts sometimes jar us.
I know, but Adrian, every time you give bad facts, it inspires another young hero of the week who hears that information and does something about it. We have to get this information out there. So think of it that way. We're getting information out there to inspire people to do something about it.
Go ahead. You were going to say something, Kimberly?
Oh, no, I said that's right. Yeah,
okay, she was nodding at me. I thought she was going to say something.
With you, yeah.
I thought you were going to enlighten me with something. We have an estimated 90.2% graduation rate, and schools with music programs have a 90.2% graduation rate and a 93.9% attendance rate, compared to schools without music education, whose average is 72.9% graduation and 4.9% attendance. Regardless of socioeconomic status or school district, students who participate in high-quality music programs score 22% better on English and 20% better on math standardized exams. In the past, secondary students who participated in a music group at school reported the lowest lifetime and current use of all substances, including tobacco, alcohol, and illicit drugs. So music is a very big part of our lives. Guys, we're going to run out this morning because I've just, we're running out of time. As I keep yakking all morning, and suddenly I'm out of time and I have nothing else to say. Well, that's not true, but thank you for joining us John, thank you for joining us this morning and bringing us that all that lovely information, and of course for bringing us Alaina to the studio.
Yes, and actually everybody can follow Alaina at Little Peace Girl on Twitter. She's fantastic.
Okay.
Give her a follow.
All right. And is there anything else before in closing, John?
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, The Peace Fund and Peace Fund Radio accounts. Also, check us out on the World Wide Web, www.thepeacefund.org.
And Kimberly, do you have anything else to say? Obviously, KimberlyMooreFoundation.org, which is a fantastic place. Where can people find you, Anjali?
You can find me on Twitter at Anjali World, and then my nonprofit is called Jaws and Paws, and it's at Jaws_Paws.
Fabulous. And obviously a big shout out to Pynk Celebrity, who have a fabulous organisation. Go check them out because they've got all the gossip. I might even be on there at some point. You know, who never knows, but you never know. But thank you, all of you, for joining us this morning. Thank you to Ethan, who has been in the background here, looking very stern and working all the buttons that we need to have in the show this morning. Thank you to all the volunteers. We have new volunteers at the Peace Fund right now. To all the people that are making Peace Fund games a great success by the looks of things, and thank you to the Speechley family for making this show possible by providing us funding for this past 2 years. In closing, a quote from Plato: "Music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything." This is Adrian Paul, and Ethan Dettenmaier will talk to you again.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier, right here on